So this weekend for UFC 300, Justin Gaethje takes on Jerome Max Holloway for the BMF belt in the feature fight, and this is the people's main event in my opinion. So in this video today, I'm going to break down this fight and who I think will win. And I'm telling you this right now, this is the actual main event. I like Jamal Hill, I like Alex Pereira, but I think we are more excited to watch Jerome Holloway fight Justin Gaethje in a banger matchup. And since the press conference happened, there's now $300K on the line for a bonus for any fighter on the card. And I believe Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje are going to go out there and put on a spectacle, an absolute masterclass. We are going to see an absolute war from the both. But here we are. Let's break down this fight. It's going to be an interesting one. So I've done a lot of research. I've spent a lot of my time watching Justin Gaethje film, and I'll be totally honest with you here. I'm biased. I want Max Holloway to win. And so when I was watching Justin Gaethje film, I was looking for any excuse. I was looking for any possible way to justify picking Max Holloway here. But when I was watching the film, I realized that there are a lot of things that Justin Gaethje does very well that Max Holloway doesn't typically defend well against. And we'll break this down. Leg kicks, low kicks is a big major thing in this fight. We all know that Justin Gaethje is known for his low kicks. He has some of the best calf kicks in the game. He tore apart Dustin Poirier's legs when they first fought. He's torn apart pretty much every single fighter that he's ever faced by low kicks. Even Khabib had trouble dealing with Justin Gaethje's low kicks. His low kicks are a real issue. And Max Holloway, he's kind of recently evolved and figured a way to defend low kicks. And when you rewatch those Volkanovski performances, that was a really big issue in Max Holloway's game. He couldn't really defend the low kicks from Volkanovski, and that allowed him to get outpointed a lot in that matchup. Even against Yair Rodriguez, Holloway just really couldn't deal with the low kicks, and he was constantly getting low kicked and calf kicked by Yair Rodriguez, and he had to resort to grappling to get that one done. Let's be honest here, that was a really competitive fight between Holloway and Rodriguez, and Holloway had to become Holloway Nurmagomedov here to get that one done. And some of the other guys who Max Holloway has fought recently, who he has beaten, like an Arnold Allen, like a TKZ, like even a Calvin Kattar, those guys really don't depend on low kicks that much. They're not really a big weapon in their arsenal, and Max Holloway is able to pretty much use his own low kicks to deal with them and pretty much use his boxing skill to beat him up and win a very clear decision. The closest one was that Yair fight, which in hindsight doesn't look too good for Max Holloway here, but it is a featherweight. This is Justin Gaethje. He's a different fighter than Yair. Yair is more dynamic on the feet. He has no takedown defense. We know that now because Holloway took him down, and then Ortega pretty much brutalized him on the ground. So we know that Yair's hole in his game is the ground, is the grappling. He doesn't succeed very well at that. So for the most part, Max Holloway has to rely on his boxing to win fights and his chin. That's a really big thing in this matchup as well. Max Holloway, he isn't the most defensively sound person. He has a short reach, only 69 inches. And when he fought Volkanovski had the reach advantage. So being a shorter guy and having the reach over Max Holloway makes it very difficult for Holloway to find shots on the inside like how he needs to beat Volk. And I think Volk overall is a really, really bad matchup for Holloway. Again, being shorter and having a longer reach just really makes it easy for Volkanovski to have his in and out movement, land his low kicks, and just overall just piece up Holloway. And I know Max Holloway got pretty much brutalized against Volkanovski in the trilogy, but that is Volkanovski. Volkanovski's a different breed. And honestly, on the feet, I would say Volk at that time is way better than a Gaethje. So when it comes down to it, I can see a Justin Gaethje landing low kicks on Max Holloway and Max Holloway trying to get on the inside and box with Justin Gaethje, who has in his own right found a way to become more patient than he's ever been. We've seen a new resurgence in Gaethje's career where he's decided to be more patient on the feet and not as wild. When you rewatch that Poirier, their first fight, we saw a very heavy, wild, a very come forward, just take any punch sort of style, Justin Gaethje. And now he's kind of taking that back. He's definitely toned it down a bit. When you watch him versus Fiziev, you see him being more patient. When you watch him versus Poirier in their second fight or in the rematch, you see him being more patient. And overall, this is just a new Justin Gaethje, who is willing to not be as crazy as he once was in the past when he first came into the UFC. But even with that being said, Gaethje can still be wild at times. We saw him overswing a few times against Charles Oliveira. I think one time he threw a left hook so hard he fell over. So Gaethje still has the capability to be wild in a fight, and he's not as crazy as he once was, like I said before, but he still has that in his tool bag to be a little wild and a little bit crazy and be a bit scrappy. And we know way back when Holloway fought Poirier for that interim belt at lightweight, he did have an issue with the power moving up that fast. But this is where I have to make my prediction here. This is where I put all my chips on the table. I'm going all in right here. And this is what my final conclusion is. I'm going to take Jerome Max Holloway to get this one done versus Justin Gaethje. Here's the thing. Max Holloway has had a considerable amount of time to get ready for this fight. When he first fought Dustin Poirier, that was on short notice. It was I would say, not as lean, not as big, not much muscle on that Max Holloway. But if you've seen the recent photos, Holloway has definitely built himself up to be a 155er now. He looks like an actual 155-pound fighter. And back then, he just didn't have that. He was more flabby in the abdomen area. And even with my whole low kick argument, Holloway, it seems like those never really affect him that much. Against Volkanovski, against Jair, he seems like he just toughs through it. Like, the leg kicks don't really ever affect him. He can eat 100 of them and they'll never really affect him like that. So like, even though I think Gaethje will have an emphasis on the low kicks, I don't think it will affect Max Holloway like that, like how we think it will. And when it comes to the reach, Gaethje only has a 1-inch reach advantage, which is an advantage to be honest. But it's not like Volk, who had 3 inches on him, who's shorter. Being shorter is a big deal. Obviously, Gaethje will probably be a little bit taller than Holloway, but not by much. And I think Holloway does very well against guys who are his size or even taller. It allows him to get more on the inside and use his boxing. He does rely on his chin a little bit too much, but I don't think Gaethje has that much power to really punish him for that. I know we all sit here and we hype up Gaethje's power like he's a powerful guy, but when has he ever really had a one-punch KO in his career? I know it's Edson Barboza, what his last one, Donald Cerrone, those guys he's one-punch KOing. I mean, obviously Poirier with the head kick most recently, but I don't see him head kicking Holloway out cold here. I think he needs to do it with the hands, and I don't really think he has the power in the hands to put down Holloway. Because again, Gaethje couldn't even put down Michael Chandler with the hands. And yeah, I know he dropped Chandler in the second round with an uppercut, but that's just Michael Chandler. Like, Chandler is kind of chinny and he gasses out very quickly. And I don't think Holloway, obviously Holloway has some of the best cardio in the UFC. He's not going to gas out and throw haymakers whenever he hurts Gaethje at any point. He's not just going to throw the whole fight away if he ends up hurting Gaethje. He's just not Michael Chandler, who I really don't rate that highly in the slightest. I think he just has power in the first round and that's it. Whereas Holloway has a lot more. He found ways to develop his game to deal with the low kicks of Volkanovski. It didn't end up going too well for him, obviously, but he still improved his game. He added low kick defense and added his own low kicks to that. His boxing is still some of the best in the UFC. He's the best boxer in the UFC, baby, if you know what I mean. I feel like Gaethje with the low kicks has not made them as big as an emphasis as he once did in the past. He throws them a lot still, but it's not like he's developing a game plan around the low kicks. When he fought Khabib, when he fought Poirier the first time, he was like making sure that he landed low kicks every exchange. But now it's more like, I'll go for a low kick every now and then when I feel like it, when I feel like I need to. He's incorporating them less, but at a smarter time. And I think against Holloway, where low kicks don't really affect him that much, it's only going to be to his detriment. And one thing about Gaethje is that he's very hurtable. Like, I think a lot of people hurt Gaethje a lot of the times in their fights, but nobody really ever capitalizes on it. You know what I mean? Whenever Gaethje gets hurt, I see Chandler throwing a knee or just winging a lot of hooks. Obviously, when Tony Ferguson hurt him, it came at the end of the round, so he didn't have time to capitalize on that. It just seems like whenever people hurt Gaethje, even in his Poirier fights, they don't really deal with it well. They see him wobble and they kind of just headhunt him, and they don't really like line up anything or make it like a smart, intelligent combination to put him out of there or get him out of there. It really took Oliveira to be able to drop him, then get on his back and choke him out to really get him out of there. But I think Holloway if he does end up hurting Gaethje, and I know Holloway is known for his pillow hands, but he has some power. Like I know it seems like Holloway just doesn't have any power in his punches, but he has a little bit of power. I think it's enough to hurt Gaethje at some point in this fight. And if he does hurt Gaethje with the punches, I think we're going to see a Holloway actually have or actually throw intelligent combinations that can put Gaethje out of there. I think a volume striker is a really bad matchup for Gaethje. Somebody who can take it to him and take his best shots and put a pace on him. I think if he eventually hurts him, he can eventually break him with the volume, a bunch of shots coming his way, combinations from Holloway. And Gaethje, whenever he is hurt for a little bit. It's not like he gets dropped and pops right back up to his feet and he's A-okay. No, he gets hurt, he chicken dances, and he's hurt for a solid at least 30 seconds. And if I see Holloway in that position, I can really just see him landing a bunch of combinations, and it's going to be like the Poirier finish pretty much, where it's just too many combinations, it's too much damage, and we're going to see a standing TKO from Jerome Max Holloway. Now, obviously, Gaethje can win this. I think it's actually maybe a smarter pick to choose Gaethje in this circumstance because we don't know how Holloway is going to deal with the low kicks in the first place. I know I hyped it up saying like Holloway never gets hurt by low kicks, but this is up a weight class. It's more powerful low kicks than whatever Holloway has ever felt in his career. So he might not be able to deal with them too well. Obviously, there's a huge power difference up a weight class. So maybe Gaethje packs a little bit too much heat in his hands and maybe he ends up hurting Max Holloway. But then again, Holloway has never been dropped in his career. And do I think Gaethje would be the first one to do that and finish him by TKO? Possibly, but I think it's very slim. Also, this is a 35-year-old Gaethje that we're seeing here compared to a 32-year-old Max Holloway. Max Holloway, I know he's been around for a while, but he's still a young guy. This is his prime right now. This is the best Max Holloway that we're ever going to see, I believe, right now. A guy who's taking time off to train, build himself up to lightweight, put on some muscle, really take this camp seriously versus a Justin Gaethje who is getting older. That chin is still not going to be as good as it used to be. Gaethje has never had a solid chin, and now that he's getting older, it only worries me that he can't take as much damage as he used to, and I think Max Holloway will crack him at some point and then finish him with combinations against the cage to a TKO finish, probably in the, I'm saying like in the 4th or 5th round, one of the later rounds. I think we're going to see Gaethje go out there and win the first 2. Then we're going to see Holloway start to pour it on a little bit, make a little comeback, have a little rally in him like how he did against Poirier. At one point, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think at one point Holloway was about to finish Poirier. I think he was breaking Poirier in the 4th round of their fight and then just couldn't finish him. I think he threw a flying knee for no fucking reason, which was pretty stupid, but that was the old Max Holloway in my opinion. But he almost broke Dustin Poirier. And I think if he can break Dustin Poirier, I think he can break Gaethje at some point as well. I think he will hurt him eventually, putting a pace on him, and then just landing a bunch of combinations. I'm going to say 4th round. I'll lock it in. 4th round TKO for Max Holloway by standing TKO. And he will win the BMF belt, and he will be, top 5 at lightweight now? So what's next for either of these fighters is if either wins, I don't know. I think if Gaethje wins, it depends how much damage he takes. If he takes more damage than the winner of Oliveira versus Sarukian, then obviously he sits back and waits for his title shot. If he takes less damage than those two, then I guess he gets a title shot to fight Islam in June or something like that. And then when it comes to Max Holloway, I don't know what you do. Do you just give him Islam anyways if he wins? It's a weird scenario here. I think I have to think about it more once Holloway wins and what kind of way Holloway wins. So that's pretty much it. I'm taking Max Holloway by 4th round standing TKO against the cage. Let me know your opinion in the comment section down below. But I'm out of here, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications. I'll see y'all later. Peace.